What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga review, where today we're going to be reviewing the fan manga entitled Dragon Ball AF, which of course is a fan manga following the events of Dragon Ball GT, and which also introduces us to Goku's third half son known as Xicor. And for many years now I've been reviewing and looking over fan-made Dragon Ball concepts and mangas, so today we'll be diving into a brand new chapter of this manga as we start the manga chapter off with Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 2 entitled Kaioshin's Plan, and we pick up exactly where we left off in the first chapter, where we have Goku and Pikkon training in the Kaioshin realm, as Goku says come on and bring it, with Pikkon saying I won't be beaten by you over and over again. And it seems as if these two have been training for quite some time, as they have gotten better over time as well, and we see Pikkon and Goku go blow for blow, very reminiscent going back to their world tournament fighting stage when they actually fought during that time as well. And we see how Pikkon actually catches Goku with a nice double kick to the chin as they continue to go blow for blow, and at a certain point it looks like Goku actually pulled something out on Pikkon as he unleashed a Super Saiyan 3 like form to where he was able to push Pikkon back. But then we have a small glimpse, just by judging based on Goku's eyes, that Goku was able to use something more, in which causes Pikkon to get completely shocked and thrown off guard, in which causes Goku to win that part of the battle. And we see Pikkon get thrown through a bunch of mountains, and Goku says sorry, it was my mistake, I'm sorry, are you okay? With Pikkon having to say I'll never be able to win if you change into that form every single time we fight, letting us know that indeed Goku has been using some sort of new form to fight Pikkon. And then we pan on over to the Grand Kai, where he's on the phone and he seems to be talking to someone, obviously enough, about Goku's whereabouts, and he says I'm positive that they flew off in some weird direction, I don't know where they went. And we see how King Kai is there, everyone is there pretty much trying to get answers as to what the heck is going on. And we pan back to the Elder Kai to where he says, so I was right, I'm convinced now that Goku is there, thank you very much. And we see how the Grand Kai is pretty much baffled by this. Obviously enough, the Elder Kai and the Supreme Kai need to know about where Goku's whereabouts are, because there is a lot of things happening on Earth to where they need Goku's help as of right now, because the only defender left on Earth is in fact Gohan, and he's having a very difficult time in fighting Xicor, even to the point where the Supreme Kai and the Elder Kai are looking in the crystal ball and they see Gohan be grabbed by the throat. And we see how the Supreme Kai even says it seems as if that time has finally come for me to fight. And we see how the Elder Kai says, wait, what are you doing? You can't legitimately think you're gonna get involved with the problems in the lower world. It won't be much longer until Goku is found. And we see how the Supreme Kai puts the sword, some sort of sword, on his back, and where he says there's no doubt about it, she is the Western Supreme Kai, which means that it is my problem as of right now that I must solve. So he puts the sword on his back and he begins to take off, because now he realizes that yes, this is his sister who seems to be causing havoc. And he also says from now on, protect the universe peacefully along everyone else, I entrust the Kaioshin realm to you. And he takes off, and we see how the Elder Kai is pretty much mad that the Supreme Kai wants to go on ahead and fight. In the meantime, the Supreme Kai arrives on the planet, and we finally see the confrontation between the Supreme Kai and of course his sister, and he's shocked as she finally turns around and says, so you're the Eastern Supreme Kai, are you? Well, so finally you show your face. As the Supreme Kai says, West Kaioshin, you were supposed to be killed by the hands of Majin Buu 5 million years ago, so then why in the world are you here now? And she says, I'm supposed to be dead? Don't patronize me, I wasn't killed at all. And we have a little bit of a flashback as to what happened, and the Supreme Kai is shocked by this, and she even tells the Supreme Kai, it was true that I was driven to the brink of death back then, but I had survived. Even after the planet exploded, I drifted about the vacuum of space for millions of years, but no one ever appeared to rescue me. So she seems to be very bitter on the idea that yes, she was supposed to die after Bibidi and Majin Buu had wiped out all the Kais, but in fact even after destroying the planet, she still survived that onslaught. So even then she says, meanwhile, you were in the realm of the Kaioshin world living comfortably. So she's blaming the Supreme Kai for this, and he says, this can't be, I had no idea. And she says, I was in agony, why would a Kaioshin, one who was supposed to stand on the top of the universe, have to suffer such a disgrace? And then I realized that power amounts for everything else, I was left to die by the hands of my own people. And the Kaioshin, is surprised by this, because he's saying, what is going on? How could this be? Like, you have your perception wrong. He didn't even know that she was alive to begin with. And she says, nothing could have been done without power. Overwhelming power is essential, and for who shall stand on top of the universe. And that's what she also says, they must boast about the power of being the best in the universe, because all she cares cares about now is complete and total power. And that's when the Elder Kai is watching this from the crystal ball, as he says this is horrible because he finally understands that her motive now is power. And she also says Kaioshins, who are supposed to be the apex of the whole universe, not having power in the best of the whole universe. Don't you think that's a little bit of a contradiction? If you're supposed to be on top of the universe, how come you don't have supreme power? And we also see how the Supreme Kai also says, then what have you been doing up until now, asks the Supreme Kai, and she says, I've been living my sights for the chance to conquer the whole universe. Frieza was my failure, but this time I have successfully created the ultimate warrior. Come now, Xicor, what are you doing? Hurry up and kill them. So she finally confesses that her ultimate goal is power, and to gain this power, and we see Xicor just completely obliterating Gohan to the point where Gohan even powered down, and he seems to laugh at the idea that Gohan stands no chance on confronting him, in which case Xicor says, okay then, so are you ready to die, son Gohan? And Gohan has absolutely no chance of fighting back because he's down on the ground, and Xicor raises his hand almost as if he's about to do something, and then out of nowhere we see how the Supreme Kai charges up in a blunt rage with his sword, and he smashes the sword against Xicor. He actually cuts his cheek just a little bit, which is actually kind of surprising because for the first time in a very long time, I believe ever since the Majin Buu saga, Kaioshin actually had a role in trying to actually defeat Xicor and prevent him from killing Gohan. And we see how Xicor has a giant laceration on his face, and he says, who the hell are you? What have you done? What are you doing? That proportion, what? And he sees that Kaioshin has revived Gohan as he used his healing ability, and we see how Kaioshin looks at Gohan and says, thank goodness, I just made it in time. Gohan son, I have a request for you. And we see how both Xicor and the Western Supreme Kai are pretty dumbfounded by this, and she says, that fellow is the Eastern Kaioshin, with Xicor saying, the Eastern Kaioshin, he's surprised as well, and she says, he is despicable and should not exist. And that's when Xicor pretty much licks the blood off his cheek and saying, I get it. And then that's when Gohan says, did you say fight with Xicor one more time? And that's when, you know, pretty much Kaioshin and Gohan are talking about this because Kaioshin wants to help and he realizes the gravity of the situation. And that's when Gohan says, Kaioshin-sama, did you go through the effort to bring me back? I mean, but you were so far outmatched by terms of ability. And that's when he says, I'm sad to say it, but even if I fought him any longer, I wouldn't make it. And that's when Kaioshin says, well, I did. And he also says, Gohan-san, you will not have to win. All you have to do is draw his attention for a little bit. And that's when Gohan says, is that the Z sword? Because obviously he recognizes it, and he says, yes, I have restored it. I will catch him while he's off guard, and I will seal Xicor up in the Z sword. And that's when Gohan understands that the Kaioshin wants Gohan to hold off Xicor for a bit longer until he can draw his attention to seal him away. And at that very moment, Xicor appears out of nowhere behind a giant rock, and we see how he says, brought back by a Kaioshin, were you? Even at that, I'm going to eliminate you all in an instant. And we see how Kaioshin says, remember my request, Gohan, and Gohan having to say, I understand, and he will says, I will try, as Gohan resumes in becoming a Super Saiyan 4, and then the ultimate battle resumes between Gohan and Xicor. So the detail of this battle is off the charts because we see how Xicor is punching Gohan through rocks, we see how Xicor is trying to drive Gohan off balance, and he's trying to grab him by the heart, and we see how Gohan is in this epic struggle with Xicor, but he also manages to throw Xicor above as Xicor moves ahead and he says full power. He wants to go on ahead and use his full power to blast Xicor, and Xicor even laughs at this and saying, have you lost it, son Gohan? If you were to fire that from there, the earth will definitely be destroyed. So Gohan is looking to fire a ferocious blast at Xicor, and Xicor saying, bring it on, you're just gonna destroy the earth. And Gohan wasn't bluffing, he unleashed this massive attack, in which case Xicor even says, damn, he fired it. And even with that, Xicor is engulfed in this massive energy like blast, and Gohan keeps blasting him and blasting him and blasting him, and you can only imagine how strong he is, because Gohan's even saying the earth's damage can be restored by the planet Namekian's Dragon Balls. Right now, my first priority is to stop Xicor from moving. So even though Gohan is causing significant damage to the world, he realizes that everything can be fixed with the Namekian Dragon Balls, falls, and we see how the entire city is beginning to get destroyed, even to the point where Majub is saying, wow, like, what is going on? Gohan's vanished his ki, it's being restored, like, what is going on? He wants to go ahead and find out himself, because Majub is trying to cater to the people without understanding what's going on. So finally, as the dust settles, we see how Gohan is standing there, and Xicor emerges from the smoke and saying, you really got carried away now, didn't you? And we see how he seems unfazed by this, and that's how strong Xicor is. But overall in the distance, we see how the Supreme Kai is standing there with the Z-Sword ready to seal him away. And we see how the Supreme Kai nails the sword on down to the ground very epically as he begins to cast some sort of spell. And we see how, you know, the Elder Kai is saying, you're intending on using that technique, like, what's going on? And we see how he puts his hands together, and he's looking for a good way how to catch Xicor off guard, and it looks like Xicor has been caught off guard. And we see how the Elder Kai is saying, stop, it's too dangerous, you'll die yourself, in which Vegeta even says, I thought Gohan's stamina had been restored, and then he let loose his power all at once, in which he lost his stamina. He was trying his best to see if he can fire off and hold off Xicor, but his stamina is now depleted, in which Trunks even says, what's going on? And Vegeta says, it's most likely some sort of strategy that Kaiosama is using. And that's when Vegeta says, that damn Kaioshin disrespecting the #1 Saiyan, are you saying I'm not dependable? You're full of it. And we see how Vegeta, even though he's been defeated, he's trying to say that everyone's making him out to be a joke. And then right then and there, we see how the Kaioshin is trying to seal Xicor away, and he's also saying he's moving too fast for him to catch, because Xicor is now on the offensive against Gohan, and now Gohan is clashing with Xicor yet again. And out of nowhere, someone yells out, move out of the way, and it's Vegeta, and he's about to unleash his Super Saiyan 4 Final Flash, in which case he says, take this, you bastard. And we see how Gohan's like, don't do it, and he finally unleashes this massive Final Flash upon Xicor, and Xicor, being as strong as he is, he catches this, and he's trying to push back Vegeta's Final Flash, in which he's having a little bit of trouble doing so. However, we also see how Trunks is also coming to the aid of Gohan, because Gohan is standing there watching this happen, and there's an internal struggle. There's a struggle between Xicor and the Final Flash, in which Trunks even uses, you know, the Buster Cannon to also fire off next to the Final Flash in order to push back Xicor. So now we have Xicor versus the Final Flash and the Buster Cannon, and then finally we see how Xicor is pushing everything back. As strong as he is, he's pushing back both the Buster Cannon and the Final Flash, and then finally Gohan begins to muscle up, in which case Vegeta says, hurry up and attack, damn it. And even Trunks says, Gohan, hurry up now. And Gohan begins to cock back, and he begins to charge up for the Kamehameha, in which even the Supreme Kai, the Western Supreme Kai, says, such strong energy, in which Gohan finally fires off the Kamehameha, in which engulfs Xicor, because now we have 3 of the strongest moves engulfing him, and he's still able to push it back. That's how strong Xicor is. But even with all that happening, Xicor is beginning to lose control, in which he's holding it back, but eventually there's too much energy going into him, and he actually begins to feel the power of this blast engulfing him, in which Gohan even says, the same power that defeated Cell, please, Father, give me the power from back then. Give me the power, please, I beg of you. And then all of a sudden, Goku's drinking something, and he stops and he gets up and he notices something. And Pikkon says, did something happen? And that's when Goku says, no, it's nothing. It seems as if he's sensing something, but then at the same time, he's just saying, no, it can't be. And we see how the Elder Kai is saying, son Gohan, that wish cannot be carried to Goku. The place that where he is at is sealed off, a world not even I, a Kaioshin, can actually communicate in. So, you know, Gohan has no way of trying to communicate with his father, in which we pan back to Vegeta, Gohan, and Trunks, and Vegeta saying, give him everything you've got. And then finally, at long last, all 3 of these Saiyans unleash all of their powers, all of their energy into these blasts, in which case engulfs Xicor. But then even as strong as Xicor is, because keep in mind, Xicor is half Kaioshin and half Saiyan, with all of Zycor's powers, Xicor manages to grab all of their blasts and chuck it up in the sky. Xicor launches this blast up in the sky, in which everyone is completely shocked by this, but then even after he launches the blast in the sky, Xicor falls down on his knees and he's tired, he's exhausted, in which he says, "You bastards, you half-dead fools are coming in 2s and 3s, and he notices that, you know, they're giving him all he has, and he says, "There will be no more miracles for you." And then out of nowhere, it looks like he actually attacked Trunks first, in which he brings down Trunks, and the next thing you know, he brings down Vegeta, and Gohan is the last one remaining, and we see how Xicor's hands, they're like all bloody and scratched up and burned, and he says, "So then, who should I wipe out first?" And he gets up and he's obviously tired, but he doesn't realize that the Kaioshin, that the Supreme Kai, is actually trying to seal him away, in which his mother says to imagine him having trouble against these weaklings is just absurd. And we see how right then and there, you know, the Supreme Kai says, "I've got you," and then he finally tries to seal him away. He fires off this like beam-like energy-like attack, and he catches Xicor. He finally catches him, and everyone seems to be shocked. The Supreme Kai has caught Xicor in attempts to seal him away, and we see how Xicor is just struggling, and the Supreme Kai is trying to control this energy, and we even see how the Western Supreme Kai is baffled by this, but she doesn't do anything to stop him. So we see how the Supreme Kai finally uses his ability to throw Xicor onto the sword, and we see how Western Supreme Kai says this is bad, and then the Supreme Kai says sleep forever within this sword, and he finally goes on ahead to throw Xicor onto the sword. But then just as the very moment he's about to do that, we see how the Western Supreme Kai intervenes in pushing the blast away, in which causes the Supreme Kai to actually smack the ground instead of the sword. And we see how Xicor is standing there, he's on his butt, and he's just dumbfounded as to what had just happened. And we see how Supreme Kai is shocked, everyone is shocked, and Xicor is saying, "What was that? What was that just now? Like, what the hell?" And the Supreme Kai said, "That was my only chance. What have I done?" And the Western Supreme Kai says that was too close to think that he's become able to actually use that technique, in which the Supreme Kai is saying, "I'm sorry, Gohan," and he even drops down to the floor. So the Supreme Kai's attempt in sealing Xicor away failed, and everyone is just dumbfounded. And even the Western Supreme Kai says it seems he used up all of his power in trying to seal him away. And Xicor stands back up. You have to pity Xicor a little bit because he's underwent, you know, 3 gigantic blasts and pushing them away. He just survived the Supreme Kai's attempt to seal him away. So he gets up and he says, "He tried to seal me away within this sword." So he attempts to grab the sword, but just as quickly as he tried to grab it, Gohan grabs it and he points it at Xicor, and that's when the manga chapter cuts off. It cuts off with Gohan having to aim his sword directly at Xicor before the manga chapter ends off. So the Supreme Kai's attempt in sealing Xicor away failed. Goku had recognized and felt some sort of disturbance. Even though he doesn't know what it is, he still feels something within him that something is wrong. And even the Elder Kai said that if the Supreme Kai were to try to do anything, it could actually potentially get him killed. So despite the warnings, despite the chances of failure, the Supreme Kai tried, and if it hadn't been for Xicor's mom, he would have been successful. So post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on this manga chapter? What were some of your favorite moments? And what are your overall thoughts on Xicor? What are your overall thoughts on the seal attempt? Thank you all for watching. If you guys are fans of Dragon Ball, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys. That way you guys are always notified with all the latest Dragon Ball news, information, and updates. If you guys love Dragon Ball, make sure to go ahead and slap a like down below. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Peace.